Hey, it's me, Vicki Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world that we're living in. So I'm just going to take my name off there. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about Sean McCann's statement that he gave in court. So of course we're covering at the moment the Madeleine McCann stalking trial. Julia Wandelt, the fake Madeleine, the Polish Madeleine, some people call her. But I think one thing you can be sure of is she is not Madeleine. She and her sidekick, Karen Spragg, are up in court for stalking and harassment. And allegedly, they have been stalking Gerry McCann, Kate McCann, but not only them, but also Madeleine's siblings, the twins who were also left in the room alone at the age of 2, the night that Madeleine was abducted. And it's only by the grace of God that Sean and Amelie weren't taken also. Or, they must think at times it could have been one of them. If it's true that Madeleine was abducted, it happens to be Madeleine, but it could easily have been either of them because they were left completely alone in an apartment while their parents went off to have a few drinks and a meal with their friends in a foreign country. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all that again. You know that if you watch my channel regularly, you'll know that that is a definite crime that they committed. Whatever happens to Madeleine, I don't know. But at the end of the day, those children, those 3 very tiny children, should never have been left in that apartment alone. And in my opinion, it's lucky that, it sounds ridiculous, but, 3 little children, they were lucky really to only lose one of them because what if they'd all would have been taken? And I'm sure it must sometimes go through Sean and Amelie's mind that could have been them. It's horrible, isn't it? It's horrible circumstance. Anyway, at the end of the day, Madeleine disappeared and she has never been seen since. And there's been a million conspiracy theories about what happened to her. I don't know if we'll ever know the full truth. There's been false sightings. There's been people accused of killing her, like Christian Bruckner. There's been all sorts of smoke and mirrors. There's rumours that the cadaver dogs smelt death in the apartment or on some items that belonged to Kate and Gerry. Did Kate and Gerry have something to do with Madeleine's disappearance? We don't know. There's no evidence for any of it. There isn't even any evidence that Madeleine is deceased. But I think really, we've all got our views. I personally do think she's deceased. I think she was deceased from that very day. But I don't know that. That is literally just a view and opinion. Anyway, in this video, we're going to, like we've looked at each day of the trial, and we've looked at when Gerry gave evidence, when Kate gave evidence. We looked at Amelie when she gave evidence. And now we're going to just look at the evidence that Sean has provided to this trial. And whereas Kate and Gerry actually are at the trial, but they are hidden by a blue curtain. When they gave their evidence, they were hidden by a blue curtain. I thought that was going to happen with Amelie and Sean as well, but Amelie actually gave a video link evidence, but she was there in person. And Sean, who seems much more reserved, if you like. Amelie seems to be coming into her own a little bit. She appeared at the vigil a couple of years ago. She gave a speech. Sean tries to stay behind the radar. He's just trying to get on with his normal life, I expect. I really feel for these. So this is Amelie now, or a couple of years ago anyway, at the vigil when she spoke. Very beautiful girl, very, very beautiful girl. And Sean, very much like Gerry, isn't he? That's him, and he is at university, I believe, and I'm going to read a statement out from him about his swimming. He's a very good swimmer. Apparently, he'd be swimming in the Commonwealth Games, maybe even the Olympics. So both of these young people have, they've had a lot to deal with, haven't they? Look, you can see Kate's face there, how concerned she is, looking to see if Emily's okay. They've had a lot to deal with, because it's hard enough growing up, isn't it? Growing up is difficult, but imagine growing up as the brother and sister of the most famous missing person case ever, probably, and living with the fact that you were there in that room when your sister was taken, and it could as easily have been you. It must be a very difficult thing to deal with. And also, so they're progressing through their lives. They want to be known as Sean McCann and Emily McCann. They don't want to always be known as Madeleine McCann's brother or Madeleine McCann's sister. But, that inevitably, of course, is going to happen. They can use that for the positive. I think, maybe further down the line, sometimes it can be positive when people know sort of something about you and your backstory, but also it can be negative. But at the end of the day, do you know what? That is the hand they've been dealt. They haven't got choice in that. They were just tiny little children. They didn't decide to be so sort of infamous, if you like, and they've just got to deal with it the best way they can. So Sean gave a very short statement. As I say, he did not appear in court or even on video link. He sent a statement to be read out, and I'm going to read that out for you all, how it's been reported. No cameras are allowed in the courtroom. This case is being held. So these are, of course, Julia and Karen. Julia says she is Madeleine McCann, but it has more or less been proven that she's not. Though for some unknown reason, the McCanns themselves won't take a direct DNA test with her. That's Karen Spragg, who's an older lady who should know a lot better. She's in her 60s, and why she's involved in this, I have no idea. And according to Gerry and Kate's testimony, she's the more aggressive of the two. I do feel like she's using Julia a bit for her own agenda. Really awful woman, I think, going to someone's house and accusing them of being a Freemason. I mean, accusing Gerry of being a Freemason. And what was the other thing? Yeah, saying to Kate, don't you want to find your missing daughter, and things like that. Just ridiculous, horrible woman. Julia, I think, is mentally ill, and I do feel sorry for Julia. But having said that, she needs to leave this family alone. And of course, it's come to this trial because of her stalking the children, Sean and Emily. I think the McCanns have probably sort of taken so much stick over the years, they've probably become a little bit impervious to it, though it will have been difficult. But I think once she started contacting Sean and Emily, Kate said that was the final straw. That's when they went to the police. And, I totally get that. So, okay, let's just hear a little bit from his own mouth about Sean. So this is an article. I think he must have been either applying for a grant to do with sport, to do with his swimming. And this is his biography. So he has wrote this himself, so we can be sure. Sometimes we get information on the internet, we're never 100% certain how true it is. He's so like Gerry, isn't he? He's very, very much like Gerry. He looks like him. I am a swimmer who competes in the 400 meters, 800 meters and 1500 meters freestyle, as well as 10k open water. I've made international appearances in the Youth Commonwealth Games for the Team Scotland in Trinidad and Tobago, and at the European Junior Open Water Championships in Corfu for Great Britain. It's interesting that he has represented Scotland because, of course, he was born in Leicester. I think obviously Gerry is Scottish, but Kate isn't. But he's chosen, may well be that there's more competition in the English teams. I don't know who decides, or maybe feels a Scottish identity. I started competitive sport when I was 8, joining Charnwood Triathlon Club. It was there that I discovered my passion for swimming, and I joined Loughborough Town Swimming Club to increase the number of swim sessions I did per week. At the age of 10, I was selected to swim at the City of Leicester, and I have since gone on to win multiple county titles, as well as becoming regional and national champion in my age group. In order to have achieved this, I have had to remain extremely dedicated, getting up at 4 a.m. multiple mornings each week to train since the age of 11. And yeah, Kate and Gerry will have been good mentors, and that's they're very fitness conscious, aren't they? We saw that even when their daughter went missing, they didn't miss their runs around. You know, that's how dedicated they are to health and fitness. I'm currently studying chemical engineering at Loughborough University, and I train 9 times a week in the pool, as well as 3 gym sessions, totaling over 20 hours of training a week. I'm aiming to compete at the 2026 Commonwealth Games and also the 2028 Olympics in LA. Now, you know, it is really good. You know, it shows the moral character of this guy, really, because you know, growing up in the sort of limelight. I mean, I know that his parents have protected him from sort of the media and this, that, and the other. But, you know, knowing who you are and knowing, you know, he'll know about the fact that Madeleine's case is international. Everybody knows about it. To go, you know, he's going to get attention. You know, it just is. When he swims in the Commonwealth Games and if he gets into the Olympics, he's going to get a lot of attention. Of course he is, not only for his swimming, you know, he's going to get extra attention, isn't he? So he's very brave, I think, and I hope he goes forward with these things, and I hope he does well. I think that's a very big thing that both he and Amelie have had to live with. And as I say, being a teenagers, I mean, he's not a teenager now, he's 20, but, you know, going through your teenagers don't like to be singled out, do they? You know, they feel self-conscious, and Sean, of course, you know, he is inextricably, will always be linked to this very famous missing persons case, missing child case. And every time you know what it's like, it'll go quiet for a while, and then suddenly there's a search or some German policeman saying he thinks he knows who did it. You know, and it all turns out to be absolutely rubbish, but it must be wearing on them. And as he gets older, maybe he's learnt to deal with it because he's had to deal with it. He's never known anything different, has he? But I do feel for him and Amelie. So the Inspire Awards will help me to fund travel and accommodation for the Scottish National Swimming Championships in Edinburgh, where I will gain valuable racing experience prior to the Olympic swimming trials in April 2024. I think he has got through, but anyway, we'll look at that when it comes to it. I just wanted to give you this background about Sean. You know, both of them, since they've become 18, have come out a little bit more into the public view, and it must be difficult, as I say. And, you know, at the end of the day, they're young people, and they will have social media. Why shouldn't they have social media the same as everybody else has got social media? But of course, we know that social media makes it easier for you to be stalked, doesn't it? I tell you what, when I was stalked years ago, thank God my stalker didn't have social media at the time, because it was, you know, so many, he did quite well as it was without social media. So, you know, just the thought of, you know, because, you know, as I say, they're young people. Why shouldn't they have social media like all young people have social media? Okay, so we're going to have a look at the statement now. Let's see where it is. I've had it set up somewhere. Yeah. So first, so if you, I'll link in the description box a playlist to this trial, so you'll be able to watch all, when I'm talking about what Gerry said, what Kate said, etc., and what Amelie said. So where we finished off with the Amelie video was she finished giving evidence, and her brother then his statement. So I'd say it's just a statement. He didn't appear even on video link. He seems much more circumspect about the whole thing. It's just he also, as soon as he heard from Julia, he blocked her, whereas Amelie did not block her, which is strange. A lot of people find strange, why didn't she just block her immediately? But then, Julia's very crafty, isn't she? She pleaded with her not to block her. I'm glad Amelie didn't block her, because that means you can collect the evidence, the messages, etc. And that's what I would advise anyone who is being stalked. If you feel like you're being stalked, and don't forget, it doesn't start off sort of belligerent normally, or it just can start off as a tiniest little thing. Someone might add you as a friend who you don't know, and you think, oh, I don't know them, but okay, I'll accept, because, people do accept friend requests. You don't think that they're going to end up stalking you. And then normally these things are insidious, aren't they? They sort of, I expect Amelie didn't know what to do, but I'm glad she didn't block Julia, because that meant that she could keep all these messages, etc. So this was yesterday. If you're watching this live, it's the 10th of October, and this statement that Sean had read out was on the 9th of October 2023. So a statement from Sean McCann, the son of Kate and Gerry McCann and Amelie's twin brother, is read to the court after his sister completed her evidence. And in it, Sean, 20, said he received messages from Julia Wandelt on Instagram, and that he blocked her account on the platform immediately. He says this made him upset and made him think about changing his online presence and removing his last name from his online profiles. I mean, why should he have to do that? Why should he, because of her, have to change? This is what winds me up so much about stalkers. You have to change your life because of them. You have to move even. That's what I did, move from place to place. Luckily, I could do that. There's some people who can't move. They end up being murdered by their stalkers. It's common. I don't think people understand how common it is for somebody to be murdered by someone who's stalking them, man or woman. It's a common occurrence. Most people are murdered by somebody they knew or they know. There's a relation. People generally are not murdered by complete strangers. So his statement was still being read to court, in which he said Julia Wandelt claiming to be his missing sister Madeleine is upsetting and disrespectful. He says he thought Wandelt might be suffering from a mental health condition, and this makes me feel guilty for feeling upset. It's really, Amelie said the same thing. So, whatever we think of Gerry or Kate or what happens to Madeleine, they seem to have done a good job in bringing these children up, because they're empathetic, aren't they? And that unfortunately, that sort of emboldens Julia, doesn't it? She plays on that empathy that they feel. They don't want to hurt her because they know she's probably got mental health condition. They're thoughtful. That's really sweet, I think. And then he added, though, if she's fully aware she is not Madeleine, then this is very upsetting for me. And I think Julia is aware, to be honest. But I don't know, because Julia's deluded. So don't forget, and you can see it in the other videos that I've done, she claimed to be two other missing girls first. Before she claimed to be Madeleine, this is not the first time she's claimed to be a high-profile missing person. She was already known to the missing persons sort of unit, because she'd already claimed to be two different people. So that is all, what tells us that Julia is not telling the truth. I do not believe that she is my sister, he continues, adding that Wandelt's actions have caused a great deal of distress. I did not want anything to do with her. And that was it. You know, he was a very short statement. Emily gave a lot longer testimony, which I say you can see on my channel. It's there in the playlist, the statement that Emily gave, but Sean was much more to the point. I mean, that's probably quite typical male thing, isn't it? And as I say, it's interesting, isn't it, that Julia has directed most of her stalking, if you like, to Kate, towards Kate, calling her mum and writing her a letter. She hasn't really been so direct in addressing Gerry because, well, you just see by every time I look at Gerry, he looks very forbidding, doesn't he? You can tell that Gerry just wouldn't have any of it. And, Julia, for all that she's clever. She knows that. She knows she's not going to get anywhere with Gerry. So she concentrates all her attention on poor Kate. And I think that's probably, because Emily was trying to be sometimes trying to be nice. That's one thing I did learn from being stalked is don't try and be nice, because you're always worried about your stalker, like about their mental health. I was with mine, worrying what they might do. But in the end, they did it. And it was my particular stalker sort of did what he was going to do anyway. So you try and, what's the word? Just placate them. You don't want them to be too hurt. You don't want to hurt someone's feelings. I feel this with Emily. That would be her. Because Julie's obviously mentally deranged, and Emily would not want to hurt her. But she just didn't respond. So I think what Emily thought is if she didn't respond, it would just stop. And sometimes when you block someone, believe me, I know, because if you block somebody or stop speaking to someone completely, they're 100 times worse. And then they come round to your house, or I remember with my stalker, it was obviously there was no social media then. But he would always be trying to get me to ring him because he didn't have my number. So he would ring round all my friends and family and trying to find out my phone number and where I was. And I had to keep moving because he kept finding out where I was. And I had to keep moving. So what I would do is if he rang my friend would phone me, and I would then ring him and withhold my number so he didn't have my number. But because if I didn't do that, if I didn't respond in some way, I was at university at the time in Reading, and when it all came to a head, I was so lucky that particular morning I hadn't gone in. It was a Monday morning, and I didn't feel very well. I was pregnant at the time. I mean, it was, if you want to know about that, it's in my book, Confessions of a Spanish Teacher. Luckily, I didn't go into university that day, but he was there. My friend phoned me and said, he's here, he's wandering around, he's crying, he's looking for you, he's begging for me to contact you, to speak to him, etc. But thank you, God, someone was looking after me that day. I hadn't gone to university that day. I didn't feel very well. I phoned up and said, I'm not coming in today. Just thank God, because he would have found me. He was wandering around the university campus crying and looking for me. So sometimes if you block somebody too much, it's hard to explain how obsessive stalkers are and how scary it is. So I believe that when they turned up, when these two, as I say, Julia's got a mental health condition, don't know what her excuse is. When they turned up at the McCann's house at night, well, they waited there all day, and Kate arrived home and she said, it was dark, it was blowing a gale, and she got out the car to get went to get something out of the boot, and these two sort of accosted her. I don't mean physically, but she shouted "Mum." Julie shouted "Mum." I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's not funny because it's so serious, but it is, you just think it's like some sketch or something. I just think that must have been horribly scary for Kate, because Kate was on her own. There were two of them. She didn't know what they were going to do. Must have just been horrible. And being called mum like that, because whatever happened to Madeleine, at the end of the day, Kate lost her. And just, it's horrible, isn't it? But anyway. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know in this video, that was Sean's testimony, very short. He only sent a statement. He didn't appear at all, whereas Amelie did appear in video link. And as I say, that the video where I talk about her testimony is here in the playlist, which is linked below. So thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Madeleine. We all care about Madeleine, don't we? And of course, I do care. I mean, I think Sean and Amelie should not have had to go through this. Okay, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and notifications, because there's more to come in this trial. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.